I saw that there was a Pokestop outside this house. I thought it would be nice to set up a lure module and maybe attract some rare Pokemon, maybe even meet some new friends.
My homeboy who actually told me about Tinder, what's up, Ray? He told me to get this like Pokemon's app right here, so I went and got it, and they got these cool little characters like dinosaurs and ducks and shit, you know.
Then this guy shows up and he starts calling the Pokemon by the wrong names. I don't know, just on purpose to patronize me, making fun of me. I don't know what his deal was. He called Bulbasaur.
That's Onion Turtle.
Geodude.
Punchy Rock.
Meowth.
That cat with them long ass arms.
Ekans.
Purple shit.
He called Diglett.
That's floor shit right there.
And Doug Trio.
That's 3 floor shits.
He knew Pikachu, but everybody knows Pikachu.
Oh yeah, that's Pikachu right there.
He called Weepinbell.
Oh, that's almost a pair.
Weedle.
Party Wiener.
Beedrill.
Everybody know that's Big Dick B.
Bees don't even have dicks. It's a stinger.
She just lost it.
And then this girl started screaming at me all crazy and shit, and I'm just trying to catch these party wieners, you know what I mean, man? Like, this shit is funny as hell.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 29 of the Pseudo Nerd Podcast for July 22nd, 2016. I am not your podcast host, Josh Kiser, but joining me, and I'd like to give a welcome back to Emerald Island's favorite son, the Casey to my JoJo, Mr. Joshua Haddix.
You know, did you just call yourself Josh Kiser?
I said I'm not Josh Kiser.
So, I mean, what, people aren't going to know your name, dude.
Well, I'm always last. I'm keeping it that way. I was introducing you.
I got you. Okay. Hello, everybody.
Anyways, I'm Kyle Hoagland. and obviously we will need to address the elephant in the room, which is, where the hell is Kiser? For those that are new to this podcast, this means nothing to you because we're all new. But for those that have been paying attention, they do know that he is currently out with he's basically kind of just resting. He got his tonsils removed on Tuesday. He honestly thought that he would be able to recover as an adult getting his tonsils removed in 48 hours. Which, I don't know. I laughed at that to myself. I really didn't think that was gonna happen, but we wish him a speedy recovery. And, one thing I do need to do, even though I don't think Haddix deserves it, but I think it at least warrants that he gets it. He was not here last week. Kiser and I kind of gave him a bit of a hard time for not being here. So, Haddix, this is your rebuttal.
I mean, I could do I could go down a lot of different avenues right now, okay? But the main one that I actually didn't realize until I heard you guys give your answer. I caught a lot of flack last week. There was a lot of jokes made at my expense revolving around not being needed for a console, not council, but a console podcast.
Don't worry. The two of us here, we know how to say that word.
Yes,
Kaiser's not here.
The D's all right.
But after hearing your guys' list, I think I've owned more consoles than either of you.
Oh, do tell. Please.
So I don't own any of the new gen stuff. That I do not own. I don't own anything new. I did own. I'll start. You know what? I'll start from the beginning for you, Kyle Hoagland. All right.
Should I get comfortable?
Yes. Get comfortable. So not counting handhelds, which we'll bring up later in this podcast, but I did own a Nintendo. I did own a Sega. I did own. Let me stick to things here. I did own a PS1.
This guy wrote a list down just so you can remember.
Well, no, I mean, I want to stick to the Sony's because I can remember better.
Gotcha.
So I did own a PS1, a PS2, and a PS3. The PS3 was for a short period of time, although the reason I gave it to Garrett was because I was living with Kiser at the time, who did have a PS3. I did own a Sega and a Dreamcast, as you guys pointed out many times in the podcast, which was a fantastic system, regardless of what you guys say.
A great system for the one person who owned it.
Exactly. I did own a Nintendo, a GameCube, and a Wii.
See, this I didn't know. I didn't think you owned anything past maybe like the original Nintendo.
I did. And I think what happened was when we were talking about consoles, I said I didn't own any because I don't own any of the new ones. So, since living with Kiser, and I didn't even really play him much when I lived with Kiser, but he had all of them at the time.
The D's all right.
So I would play, his. Since then, I really haven't played any. But yeah, I mean, I've definitely owned. And when you guys railed off your list, I'm like, God, I have more consoles than both of these fucking tools put together.
I don't think we took the time. I think Kiser might have, just because he wanted to compensate for something.
The D's all right.
But I didn't name every single system I ever owned, and I've had a lot of the handhelds too. Speaking of which, I don't know if we're going to dive too much into the handhelds part of it. I know that we were kind of talking about that previously today about whether or not we really wanted to jump into it, and maybe we will, because I don't think they really got much airtime during the console gaming podcast. But today's podcast is going to circle mostly around, I guess, what would be the pure definition of mobile gaming, which would be more or less the smartphone generation. Is that probably safe to assume?
Yeah, smartphones, tablets.
Probably mainly things that you would either get on like the Android Google Play Store or the Apple App Store for the other guys. Fair enough. I just know that when I started thinking about what we were going to talk about today, because usually that's Kiser's job, and so he's taking his day off.
The D's all right.
Yeah, no, seriously. At least I was out of the state when I wasn't on the podcast last week. Kiser is sitting on his couch right now, so
he really is. He
take that for what it is.
If anything, he could have joined us in the chat room here. He could have typed a little bit of stuff out. Who knows? It's just tonsils. Seriously.
Seriously,
who cares? Let's ignore the fact that people said it's worse than childbirth. Come on now.
He's been popping Oxycontin for days. So
he's been popping Oxycontin and sending me pictures of he's been watching Pokemon, the show.
Wow.
I think he said he was on he only watched one episode, but then his girlfriend said that she wanted to watch it with him, and that's what we call a keeper. She didn't want him to watch Pokemon because she wanted to watch it with him.
That's what that is. Love.
You think so?
Ladies and gentlemen.
Well, you heard it here first.
I would.
That's a bold statement. We're not even like a couple minutes into this, and we're already making bold statements. But
mark that down.
Yeah, let's do it. When it comes down to it, and they tie the knot, you'll have a great speech to give.
We'll play this podcast.
Exactly. Oh God! But we also decided to mention Pokemon. One of the reasons why he's watching Pokemon is because of the craze that has been going on with the new game that Nintendo released, Pokemon Go, and it would be a disservice if we don't talk about that a little bit in this podcast. And we'll get to that as we go along. I know I've been loving it. I'm pretty much almost at the soft cap as far as leveling is concerned. It's been a lot of fun. My wife plays it too. She's been enjoying it. My dog has been really confused with why I've been walking her 6 times a day. So. But we'll move on from that. We'll go back to that probably a little bit later in the podcast. So the first thing we always want to do with the last couple of podcasts is kind of discuss what our background is and what we've experienced as far as mobile gaming is concerned. And Haddix, obviously, I'll let you go first, and then I'll just follow up after that. But what's your I think as far as I'm concerned, I don't know everything. I know you've had an iPad, and I know you use an iPhone, but what exactly have you been doing with those products?
I'm not really huge into the mobile gaming, and we can get into that more in depth later. But
another podcast where we don't need you. Okay, cool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I've played your big, other than Pokemon Go. I haven't gotten into that yet. But I have played the big mobile games that have come out. Your Angry Birds, your Candy. What was the Candy one? Candy Crush. Candy Crush. Played that. As a matter of fact, I still have both of those games on my iPad, and I play Candy Crush all the time when I'm on an airplane. Like that's my go-to game. And when I run out of 5 lives, I just go into the iPad and set the time a day later, and I get five new lives. So, a little trick for you guys. A little trick to the trade there for you guys. But other than that, I really don't delve much into the mobile gaming. I play those big, easy games, the games that you can just pick up real quick and play, and then, you know, spend a couple of days without ever looking at it, and then play it for 10 minutes and keep going.
And that's kind of the same for me. I've jumped back and forth with so many different phones that, you know, like I said, I've had a smartphone, or not a smartphone, I've had like a cell phone forever. And I mean, just from the beginning days of Snake and things like that.
Dude, I was about to say, yeah, you remember Snake? Or what? Did you ever have a BlackBerry?
I did not. When you guys were all about the Blackberries, I think I had my Sidekick, which was like right before the smartphones kind of came. There
was that Brick Breaker game on Blackberries, which was
yeah, and Brick Breaker wasn't. I think actually a version of that was on my Sidekick. Isn't that the one where like you have the slider on the bottom and you like bounce the ball and hit the different bricks?
Yeah, and it would get like faster and stuff. Yeah, you end up.
I enjoyed those games, and but I mean, I've bounced back and forth with iPhone and Android phones, and I had once owned an Android tablet. My wife has an iPad Air. I even had a Windows phone for a number of years, and the one thing that I've always been consistently messing around with is I've played a ton of those games, and the same ones as you. I've tried the Candy Crushes. I've never really got stuck with them, and I guess I don't know what it is about it. When I find out that like there's like hundreds and hundreds of levels, I just feel that's so daunting that I don't bother. I like playing games that when I get to the end, it's over and I can uninstall it and try something else. But I like the people that play Candy Crush or like Farm Heroes, I think is another one, or Bubble Witch. These are games, by the way, that like my wife plays all the time, and that's like a thing that she does before she goes to bed. She'll read her book a little bit, and then she'll play these games, and they all have those, you know, those set lives where once you use them up, then, you know, they might refresh a new life every whatever it is, 5-10 minutes, and there's no end of it in sight. I don't like that. I've never liked those kinds of games. So the games I've usually played have always been like when Final Fantasies, like when they make like versions of that you can get on the iPhone or something like that. Those are the ones because then I can play it and I can finish it and then I can be done with it. I've just never understood somebody playing a game like that. I mean, obviously we played like, you know, MMOs and stuff for years, but games like that, like puzzle games that just continue and continue, they've never really interested me. I guess that's the best way I can explain it.
Well, to not to take over your hosting role, but to delve into the next topic of what we like about mobile games, I think that's one of the things I do like, is that unlike an MMO game, your Candy Crushes and things, I mean, I could go a month, 2 months without playing that game, and then when I start playing it again, I don't need to remember anything. I don't need to, you know, try to figure out where I was or what I've done already. It's like, all right, I'm just going to go to the next level and keep playing. You know, that's kind of one of the things I enjoy about it.
Yeah, I can see that where, yeah, if you're playing like something that's more involved or story driven, if for whatever reason just life happens and you become Spider-Man and you don't play a game for a couple of weeks, then you go back and play it. It almost seems, it does seem a little intimidating to play it again, because you're like, wait, what the hell was I doing? One of those good examples actually was when I used to play like the Pokemon games on my DS. I played it like hard for like a couple weeks, and then I just didn't play it for like a month. And then when I decided, like, I want to get back and play, I'm like, I have no idea where I am, what I was doing. And so, yeah, I guess there is like the good and bad of like those kinds of games. And but I always just feel like those are the kind of games that are just I don't know, they're mindless to me. And I guess that's what's good about it, is that it really is there just to take up time. Just like if you're watching, you know, like an old episode of Seinfeld or something, like, you know, you've seen it multiple times, but it's still entertaining to you. It's, you know, you're not getting anything new out of it. So to me, it's like, this is like, to me, the rerun of video games, is that there's not much to them. I don't think you get temporary relief or temporary pleasure out of it, but you don't really get any kind of progression out of it. So I don't know. It's cool. I mean, I definitely appreciate having it when I take the train in the morning.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
to be able to just mess with something. But then again, you always got to have like one game that you can play offline, especially on a train going through tunnels. And then you got to have that one game that you do need the internet for, you know, for getting either updates or, you know, a lot of those games are, you know, connected to Facebook or something like that, where you might need to send requests to people to give you more lives, and, you know, obviously you need some sort of internet connection for that shit. And a lot of those games to, especially the free ones, and those are the ones that I love the free games, but those are the ones that can ultimately become really, really expensive. And there's been many stories out there about kids who play like Candy Crush and stuff like that on their like parents' phone, and then they figure out how to get to like the store of the game, and then just purchasing like 99 cents until I think I'm trying to think of who it was. I think it was Jack Black. I think he said his son uses his tablet all the time. I think it was like an iPad. And he plays like a certain, I forgot it was like a conquest game or like some sort of civilization game that is free to play, but there's in-app purchases that you can make. And he was, I think he was on like the Tonight Show or something, and he was telling Jimmy Fallon that next thing he knew, he had this bill for like $3,000.
Jesus.
Which, I mean, you're Jack Black. I mean, I don't know. For all I know, he could be poor as shit. I don't know. I mean, I feel like he's still swinging around in his Kung Fu Panda money. But
I was about to say, yeah, exactly. He's got that Disney money.
He does. And once you're in that family, as long as you're not posting nudes, you're fine.
Well, yeah. Well, that's like kind of goes back to my boy John Mayer posted a picture on Instagram, and he and you can probably fill me in a little bit on this because I'm not sure exactly, but he bought a bunch of stuff for Pokemon Go. He took a screenshot of his phone that was like, "Are you sure you want to spend?" The little notification they give you, like, "Are you sure you want to spend?" John Mayer.
John Mayer playing Pokemon Go.
Yeah. He posted a picture. He spent like $99 on Pokeballs or something like that. Something you can buy playing Pokemon Go.
Yeah. Which, by the way, I don't know. I mean, maybe he plays more than I do, but I've never had to buy anything on the store. Especially Pokeballs, like you can get those everywhere. And
it might not have been Pokeballs. I'm not 100% sure. But again, it goes back to he's got money to do that. Why not? You know what I mean?
Sure.
But it goes to the fact of what you were saying. It's a free game that a lot of people enjoy without spending money. But there is a way to spend a lot of money if you really want to.
Yeah, it's true. And it's like I said, one of the great things about mobile gaming is that it's, for the most part, other than some of the premium games, which I don't mind spending $2.99 or $3 or $4 or even $5 on a game if it's a game I really want to play. To me, that's a drop in the bucket. I'm not saying I'm like I make a ton of money, but it's not that. I've spent more money on stupider shit.
Oh God, yeah.
So, and so to me, like that's not a big deal. And those games I usually like more because most of them don't have like in-app purchases and they don't have ads. So it's just you're just playing like just the full version of a game and just enjoying it. So it's in that respect, I like that. And then you got the free ones, which are great. They're fine. Every once in a while, you're going to run into ads, and then you're going to run into the in-app purchases stuff. So if you really want to play, it feels like you're gated, because if you don't buy, then your progression is definitely way slower than the guy who's maybe spending a couple bucks here and there.
It's the MMOs online where they're free to play, but there's a bunch of shit you got to buy in the in-game store, and you just feel like you're way behind everybody if you don't.
And usually, if you care enough about a game, and then one of the great examples of that is like, when you were talking about MMOs, like Star Wars, the Old Republic, you can play for free, or you can do a subscription. Like, if you really cared about progression and really going through the game, you're going to get a subscription because it's just worth it to have it.
Yeah.
Obviously, the free version exists, but you're gated. It takes longer to progress.
The free version of anything, I feel like, is enough to try to get you hooked. So to say, you know what, screw it, I'll pay $14.99 a month. I'll pay $3, whatever it may be for the game.
But going back to like Candy Crush, I always feel like every time I watch like my wife play, and I don't remember what level she's on. She's somewhere in like, I don't know, 300s or 400s. I can't remember. But I know that there's like, she'll tell me like, oh my God, I've been on this level for 3-4 weeks. And then I think to myself like, man, that is exactly why that store exists. I could not. Yep. I would have no patience to be on the same level for 3 to 4 weeks, especially a puzzle game. Like, that's that shit where I'm like, oh man, all I needed was a candy hammer or whatever they are that you can use just to get through certain things. Like, I'll spend 99 cents to get out of this level just because I'm stubborn.
Yeah, exactly. That's where they get you. It's exactly what they want. They got you, Hoagland.
Well, fortunately, I don't play that game. Although I will say, I do play 2 games mostly right now. One's a Dragon Ball Z game that is free, but once again, it's like one of those card games where like each of the cards are like different strengths, and the stronger cards have better stats, and then you go against you battle other cards, I guess, in a sense. and they're different rarities. And so like the normal, the rare, then it's like super rare, and then like ultra rare. And then each one of those gives you, the better the rarity, the more powerful the card, the better the stats. I think WWE also has a game like that.
I'll say, yeah, I remember you telling me about a game. Yeah.
And you don't have to spend a dime, and you can get good cards, but it takes a while to generate either the in-game currency, whether it's like in Dragon Ball Z, the game, it's like they're called Dragon Stones. And if you get like 50 of them, then you can get like this, you can summon a bunch of cards. And sometimes they'll be like really, really good rarities. Or you can just buy Dragon Stones and just keep on getting summons. And I think the same thing exists for, like the WWE game. But yeah, that is where they get you. So I have spent money on both games. Pokemon Go, I would say I've spent more money on the Dragon Ball Z game probably than I'm proud of. I think I probably spent at least $50 on that game, and I played it for over a year. So I mean, it's like $5 here, $5 there, but I probably say total about $50. I know for Pokemon Go, I just immediately spent $30 and got like a lot of like the currency in there to get like certain items to level up quicker. I don't see myself doing that again, but who knows? It really, I feel like those in-app purchases are always impulsive. They're always for a purpose.
Yeah, it's one day when you're real bored and you want to do it. It's screw it. I'll just buy it now. You know what I mean? And then there's other times where you're like, God, I'm like right now where you just said I don't see myself spending any more money on it. A day will come where you're like, you know what? Screw it. I'll spend $30. You know what I mean? It's one of those types of things.
And sometimes they'll have deals where like before you wouldn't have done it, but now like they gave like a 50% off.
Yeah,
and so it's like, it's only $15. That's not bad, and it would really help. And then once again, that's how they get you.
Exactly. They just keep getting you, don't they, Hougie? I think you and I can agree though that it seems like you don't play too much on your phone. I mess with it quite a bit, but I don't really get too deep in these games. And I think the reason why is because I don't think there's a lot of depth in these games. There are, like I said, the ones that I've always bought that I've enjoyed have been the full version games that were like ROMmed to be, like whenever they come out with like Final Fantasy or Dragon Quest. These are games that have already existed. They're just, making the mobile versions. So they're full version games. And to me, that has good quality, but I would say overall, especially on Android, one thing I definitely notice on the Android, the Google Play Store is that there are so many garbage games, especially ones that cost money. That's the other thing too. Like, why would I spend $1.99 on like your shit game? Yeah, I would never. I tend to play the games. Like I didn't like find Candy Crush and like was playing it for weeks and then all of a sudden it hit big. It's kind of one of those like you see it around and you're like, I'll try that game. Same with like Angry Birds back when it started. So I'm not the type that will scroll through my phone looking for a new game to like randomly play. I guess I'm more of a follower than a leader when it comes to mobile gaming. You know what I mean?
And everything else.
Exactly. When a game comes out that people are saying is good and it's free, I'll try it out. But I'm not going to sit there and tool through my app store like, this game looks good, let me download this game, try it for a little while. I don't like that, let me try this game for, you know what I mean? I
think we're all guilty of that though. I feel like every game that we've all, as friends, like you and me and Kiser and Matt and I don't know so much as far as like your cousin, but we always seem to get into a game like it's a fad, and then the moment that it loses any kind of steam with us, it's dead. I think WoW has been the only game that has really kept us interested, but I think everything else that we've ever played, and I think mobile games would be included in this, it's just like they don't keep the attention for as long as maybe the developers want us to. It's just that the moment that we lose any type of interest or just something else piques our interest for a little bit, then that game just becomes dead to us.
Yeah,
it just sits on your phone.
I think that is a huge downside to mobile gaming is, the good side of it is I do like playing a game that I can take a couple months off and start playing. But at the same time, that game's not going to have a lot of depth because I can do that. So it doesn't grab your attention. It doesn't make you sit there at night and say, God, I really want to go play that game. You know what I mean? It's just kind of one of those like, if I have some downtime, if I'm sitting on the toilet, if I'm waiting in the dentist's office, in the waiting room, I'll pull the game up, play it for a couple minutes. Like, that's when you play. It's a game of convenience than necessarily a game of design. Like, we like playing WoW. I look forward to playing WoW, at night when we play. It's not I have nothing else to do, so I'm going to log in and play, one of those types of things.
Yeah, and I think it has a lot to do still with the price point. I've always been the kind of believer that if you're going to spend a good amount of money on it, then you should spend a lot of time with it. So when you get free games, like there's no one putting a gun to your head to play these games, and they're always going to be there. Like if I dropped $60 on a console game, to me I feel like, all right, I owe it to myself to play this game through. Yeah, and not just let it just sit on my shelf and be a $60. Like, I wouldn't spend $60 on like a lamp or something like that, but yet like I would spend like $60 on a game I might play for a little bit and then put it on a shelf. So you need to at least have that, I guess, mentality that you enjoy what you enjoy, but I feel price does play a role in how much real true investment you're going to put into something.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, it's definitely plays into how much you play it. So the one thing I don't know what kind of games. Once again, you've kind of mentioned that most of the games I think that you've been playing have always been the touch. Like the puzzle games where you use your finger, you touch a candy and you move it over or something like that. Have you ever actually played a game where you? Like I said, the good examples are like the Final Fantasy games or the Dragon Quest games or any like the RPG games that exist, where moving around, since you don't have like a joystick, not a joystick, like a D-pad, you don't really, that's all touch. And it's so, even in this day and age where touchscreens I feel like have only gotten better, the technology has only been worked on and it's gotten better and better and better. I mean, I can't remember how many years now. It's been, 9 years since the iPhone. 8 years since the iPhone, and it's those kind of games suck. I mean, I like playing those Final Fantasy games because I like the series and I liked playing it on there. But I feel like after playing a couple of them, I'm like, you know what? That's just where those games need to belong. They just need to stay on consoles, or at least something that is going to allow you to have like an actual like controller. And I think that there are some third-party, hardware things where you can like put an iPhone to a controller and you can play, but ain't nobody got time for that, man. No one's got time to attach that shit. Who's care? Like, I think one of the draws of mobile gaming is it's just you can do it wherever, but you're not going to always carry around a portable controller with you, And what you were saying with the whole Final Fantasy thing, I have Final Fantasy on my iPad. I think Final Fantasy 3 or something like that on my iPad. And yeah, you have to there's like a joystick on the screen that you still have to touch and move. It's a huge pain in the ass. And it really does.
It doesn't feel free. You know what I mean?
Not at all.
You need to have some sort of tactile button pushing.
Yeah. And it goes back to something you guys were saying last week, getting into like the virtual reality stuff that's coming out. Like, there's just some games you just want a remote control in your hand and you use that to do everything. You don't want to be virtual reality. You don't want to be touchscreen. Like, I want a joystick in my hand or a D-pad with some,
the D's
X,
all right.
A, B buttons or X triangle, whatever the hell, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah. I feel like the touch screen is reserved for certain games that work well on a touch screen. And then the other ones where the screen is what it is. It should be your viewing, and then you have something else off the screen that you use to actually move.
Yeah.
I mean, with that said, I'm still buying them. So, I mean, I'm dealing with it. I think, and we'll go into this when we talk more about the future of it, but I mean, I guess I'll say now, I think these companies are being a little bit more comfortable with releasing stuff like that on the mobile. I think just mainly because just people are they're in front of their phones way more than they are in front of the TV that has the console. So that's just it's an untapped plane that these gaming developers and software guys can, why wouldn't you? If I'm staring at if I'm near my phone or holding my phone, I'll make up a number 8 times more than I would be near something where I could play my PlayStation. Then it would be stupid for those companies to not develop for it.
Oh, here's a question for you. I was reading this earlier while I was kind of looking up some stuff for this podcast. I don't know if this was a Nintendo representative that came out and said this or just some random person that like looked at the numbers, but someone suggested that your Nintendo DSs and your handheld devices are taking a huge hit because of the amount of success that mobile gaming has had. So I guess my question to you is, in the long run, could you see, Nintendo and PlayStation? Does Xbox have a handheld?
Oh, I mean, they used to have something that they were trying to develop on their Xbox app for their phones, and I think what Microsoft is moving more towards is being able to port their stuff via the cloud onto PCs and laptops. On
the PCs, yeah, okay. So my question is, do you think that maybe not so much the Microsoft thing, because computers will always be big, but your Nintendo DSs and your PlayStation Vitas or whatever they're called, do you think eventually those just will no longer be made? It'll all be either mobile games or console games?
Well, I think it depends on what actually gets released onto like the mobile gaming platforms. The one thing about the reason why DSs are going to keep selling, and I think Vitas for the most part are going to be at least competitive, not to the DS, but at least competitive in the market in general, is that the Vita, I think, has kind of been more of like the younger brother of like the PlayStation, where like you could play the game, you can play most of the play your games on your PlayStation, and then a lot of those games you can play seamlessly in a sense on your Vita. I know that one of our buddies, he plays like MLB The Show on his PlayStation, but then he also plays the same saved season that he's playing. He can do it on his Vita and not be home. So I mean, that's a cool little advantage.
That
it's not
cool,
something
yeah.
that a mobile, like the mobile, industry is not going to be able to match, because Sony wouldn't do that. Just like how Nintendo, I don't think is, as much as Pokemon Go has been a huge success, they're not going to release the next, full version Pokemon game for, the App Store or Google Play. They're going to put that on their DSs. So as long as you still got your exclusivity, I'm not even going to try it. As long as
exclusivity?
As long as you have your exclusive titles going to, or not going to the smartphones, I think the DS will be fine. I don't think anything that's right now on the smartphones is still enough to entice people that already have been buying DSs right now to move over yet. I feel like the DS,
the D's all right.
I feel like they're still going to be fine, because they still have the certain games that are not going to be pushed over there yet. At least not yet.
Yeah.
Talk to me in 15 years and it might,
when everything's
change
on a phone. Yeah.
So, or I mean, who knows what the phone industry will be like in 15 years from now?
Yeah, that's the thing.
I mean, think of it like when we were in high school, we didn't even have color screens.
No, and then remember camera phones came out, and that was crazy. I remember Kiser had like one of the original camera phones.
Yeah, Kiser and I both bought the same exact phone. It was a flip phone, small ass screen, had a crappy ass camera. But yeah, that was all the rage in like 2005.
I remember I thought it was the coolest thing that when someone would call him or you, since you had the same phone, and you could have like a picture of them pop up. You know what I mean? Like, I thought that was like the coolest thing.
And once again, that's barely 10 years ago.
Oh yeah.
So think what's going to be like 10 years from now. I mean, do you think that we've hit like a plateau of like innovation? Because I don't think so. Especially for me being in San Francisco and seeing a lot of these companies and what they're trying to do, especially on the software side. I mean, nobody's happy. Nobody's satisfied with what they're doing. So it's really exciting what it could be like 10 years from now.
So I guess that plays into it. If a phone is capable to play a exclusive Pokemon game or an
I think they're
exclusive
capable.
Mario game.
I don't think there's anything wrong with the hardware. I I mean, why would Nintendo destroy right now their best-selling product to do that? That would make no sense for them. There's nothing that sells better for them than the handhelds right now. That's across the board. Maybe not so much in the U.S., but overall global sales.
How does that? How does that?
Best-selling thing they
how
have.
does that pair up to how PlayStation's selling their main console? You know what I mean? Like, is it just what Nintendo is selling the best of, or is it also selling better than PlayStations and Xboxes? You know what I mean?
I think Kiser talked about this last week.
The D's all right.
I think that as far as the top selling things right now, I mean, the Nintendo DS is the second best selling product I think of all time, right behind the PlayStation 2. So as far as handhelds, I mean, the Vita is probably low. I mean, I don't think Sony cares too much about the Vita. I think I think it's been more of a novelty item. But I think Nintendo, until Pokemon Go came out, I mean, their DS was, saving their butts as far as, making sure their stocks didn't plummet because of how much they were able to sell. I mean, it's been strong in the US, but I mean, in the Eastern Hemisphere, handheld is huge, not just for mobile, but also the handheld, DS stuff.
Yeah, all that stuff. Yeah, I'm with you.
So I guess the short version of the long version that we just said, I don't see right now, if everything is staying trending the way it is, I don't see the DS slowing down unless Nintendo decides to no longer be a hardware company, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and then maybe, yeah, I know what you're saying. You guys kind of touched on that last week about, or I think Kiser might have mentioned something about them maybe just making games or something like that if their hardware continues not to sell, or not continues. That makes it sound like they're doing horrible right now. But I know what you're saying.
And as much as we were just talking about how amazing, the technology that we've seen, and the one thing that's been always consistent is, why can't we have a smartphone that can last longer than a day and a half with battery life? And if they were able to find a way to put like heavy usage on a phone that could last you a weekend, I think that also would play a gigantic role in how popular games are. If I were to play that, the Final Fantasy game, and I started playing it, and you know me, if I get into a game, like if I'm binging a game, I'm playing it for hours, and that'll kill my battery in probably a couple hours. Pokemon Go, I will wake up in the morning and I will turn it on at the train station about 5:45, and then I'll have it on and off here and there, throughout the day just to see if something pops up. I don't leave it running. But by the time I get back on the train again at 3 p.m., my battery's at 25%. And it's mainly because of Pokemon Go.
Yeah.
So I think that right now that's the only hurdle, and probably the thing I dislike the most. I don't like something like that. Like, if that's the one thing that's going to keep me from enjoying what I like doing, is just the shortcomings of the hardware itself. And once again, I don't work in an industry where I know how difficult it is to create, a light battery, because as smartphones get lighter, so do the batteries, and so then you gotta find better ways to make batteries last longer, or else you're gonna walk around with a brick in your hand again. So who knows? So we're getting kind of close towards the end of what we're talking about. But one thing we haven't hit yet that I still wanted to is, what do we see? Once again, what do we see in 10 years as far as like the mobile gaming industry and things like that? I know if Kiser were here,
the D's all right,
he would probably be talking all about virtual reality. To me, that's always been a niche thing. I've never really cared too much about it. I've played around with a friend of mine who had a VR, the Samsung Gear VR, and it's cool, but you can tell it's in its infancy. It looks okay, but it doesn't look polished. Maybe that's the best word for it. And I know Google has Google Cardboard, which, me saying that, probably 10% know what I'm talking about.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah,
so.
It's basically their virtual reality kind of project. I mean, I don't even think it's not even really a product. You can buy it, but it's pretty cheap, and you get what you pay for. It's a pretty inexpensive thing to buy, and it's not the most impressive thing. I think PlayStation is going to be the first real go at it with when they come out with their stuff. But I feel like the future is actually kind of now with the games like Pokemon Go, making games that are more like augmented reality games where you gotta get actually, you can't just sit on a couch anymore and play a game. Like if you want to play Pokemon Go, you gotta get off your ass and go walk your dog or, try and find these little bastards. And I think that if you make games that are engaging like that, then that to me is a very, upward trending thing to create for mobile gaming.
I think that is that's the field that they need to be in, because even if virtual reality does come out for a phone, which I don't know why you would, you sitting on a bus driving into work in the morning, you're not going to be messing around with virtual reality. You know what I mean? So I think their little I have
seen Bart people on the Bart with those crazy headsets on.
See that
it's weird.
Yeah, it blows my mind. I mean, it'll just be like you talk about like detachment from society. But I think Pokemon Go is that type of game is the future. I agree with you. It's like it's out there. It's not about
making better games. It's about making the right game for the right for the right platform.
Yeah. If you want badass virtual reality, you're going to have a console. You're going to have what seems to be a PlayStation at this point. They're going to be the first ones, that really kind of nail it down. Like you're going to be at home doing that on a console on a big TV, stuff like that. Your mobile gaming, to your point, is to get you out of the house. Things you can do, like you said, you get to the bus stop in the morning, you do it there. While you get to work, you do it there. Like it's mobile. It's something to do while you're mobile. Hence, mobile gaming. You know what I'm saying, Hougie?
You just blew my freaking mind, dude.
And we jotted it down here on the rundown. The health field has taken off with these watches, these wearables, these the Fitbits, the Garmins. You know what I mean? All that kind of stuff. Like, imagine what the gaming community could do with that eventually. You know what I mean? Something that I don't even know. It's beyond my scope. But imagine what they can do if they, kind of get that one good idea like the health field did when they decided to make these Fitbits and everything.
Yeah, and that's once again, it's I don't think we can say now that those were I thought 5 years ago, I thought Fitbits and those Garmin things, I thought that they were going to last for a little while, and there may have been some people who bought it with good intentions and maybe don't wear them so much anymore, but they're not slowing down. They're still very popular products. But yeah, like I think what you and I are both kind of agreeing with is if the mobile gaming industry can move away from just creating games that you could easily play sitting down, which is already an industry it's completely taken over, and it's got a strong enough hold by console gaming and PC gaming. Create games that cater to the technology and the hardware that's already in the phones, and if it's a mobile device, make it a mobile game. Make it something where you're not sitting around, because there's nothing worse in society right now than every time I go, I'll come home and I'll see some of my family and some of my like younger, and not even younger. Like I'm not gonna just completely like forgive my the people my age and older. Everybody just has their phone in their face.
Oh god,
and
yeah.
If all those games were gone and just had all those games being get up and move and something more quote unquote mobile, then I think that those types of games have the right place for it, and it's not at barbecues and funerals and things like that, where unfortunately I see people pull out their phones all the time, and I'm not innocent of it, but I feel like if the mobile industry had started that way and said, we don't need to take console games and put them on the mobile devices, that's a waste. Why don't we actually be pioneers with it? Like, for example, like Ingress and now Pokemon Go, both of which are created by Niantic Labs. If people started moving more towards those types of games and it engages more people, and they're very much multiplayer, you join teams and it's like an overall like geographical kind of like a Conquer game, then I think that's the better way to go than to create puzzle games and things like that are stationary, and it kind of pulls yourself away from the real world.
Yeah. I mean, just now. So, I mean, Pokemon Go is relatively new. How?
Yeah, it's only like 2.5 weeks old. If that.
How game changing do you think? Do you think in 10 years from now, mobile gaming will be completely different, and we'll be like, hey, remember the first game that really did that, or at least the first game that really took hold? I don't know if Pokemon Go is the first game that has tried to do this, but
no, like I said before,
it's the
like
first big...
Niantic Labs created Ingress, which was the same exact thing, except the difference between Ingress and Pokemon Go is that it's Pokemon. It's
people know
way
Pokemon.
More relatable to more people.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the success of Pokemon Go is going to change the platform of.
It's going to open
gaming.
up people's eyes for sure.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are a lot of different companies, a lot of different games are going to try to copy off of this, and it's going to go a whole nother direction because of this game, which is good, and I think that's a good direction.
And at the same time, you're going to have those companies like Zynga, who creates like Wars for Friends and all those, and the poker games, and I forgot the hell is the name of the other company that creates like Soda Crush and Candy Crush and all those games. They're not going to stop doing what they're doing. They're making a shit ton of money.
Oh yeah. But and people love those games and will buy those games. So
yeah, absolutely. And so for that, will it change? You know what? I think some of those games are going to be meant for some people, and I think it's going to be more of like maybe a little bit of a rift change between what we consider fun and what the younger crowd may consider fun. I mean, game like Pokemon Go. I don't think, my mom is never going to play Pokemon Go. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
she'll play Candy Crush, but here's the thing: she doesn't even play it. She hardly plays it on her phone. She plays it on her laptop because it's a Facebook game too.
Yeah.
So she'll just play it on there because she likes the bigger screens. So once again, you fall in that. Here's a puzzle game that was made, I think, originally for a mobile platform, but then there's tons of people that play that on a laptop or a PC anyways. So it's not, you're not getting all of that revenue. But once again, it's a free game, so really all they care about is making sure that you're getting you're making in-app purchases, and they don't care if you're doing it from the Facebook app or you're making it from the mobile app.
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone's making the same amount of money. So so let me ask this. So why haven't you started playing Pokemon Go? I mean, it's the popular thing now. I feel like I'm not going to say that Kiser bought a new phone just to play this game. It's the fact that he bought a new 6S recently.
Did he buy one, or did he get one from work? Or
he got one from work. I mean, yeah, he was up for an upgrade. I just found that the timing might have been a little coincidental.
Very coincidental. Yeah. My answer to that question is, I think it's twofold. One, I work from home, so I don't really you're like you just said, you go to the bus stop in the morning, you're downtown during the day, you know what I mean? That you kind of are out there doing that. So I think that might be part of it. I think the other part, again, going back to timing, and how big of a WoW fans we are with WoW coming out, that's where kind of my free time goes, in a sense. So and I know it's a game you can kind of, like you said, just open it up, and if there's a Pokemon around or something like that, you grab it or whatever, But I mean, I don't have a real good excuse, and I probably will end up getting it maybe at some point.
Well, it's one of those cool games where you don't have to spend a ton of time on. I leave it on to see if something pops up, but for the most part, I only pull the thing out when ladies.
I was just about to say.
I only bust out the game when I'm walking the dog, or if I'm literally going somewhere. If I'm at home, I know you don't know much about the game, but there are things called Pokestops where if you're near one, you can tap it, or you kind of like flip it or something like that, and you get items out of it, and you get a little bit of experience. I literally, my townhome, right behind it is a fountain that is a Pokestop. So I pretty much just sit on a free Pokestop, and I can just use it every 5 minutes. So I'm just constantly getting items and such. But other than that, if I want to go somewhere, especially if people know how to play the game and figure out how to look for Pokemon that show up on your grid, you got to get up and walk around a bit. So you kind of make that decision on your own when you're like, sometimes I see on my map that there's nothing I really want to catch, and then 11:30 at night, I'll see like a Kadabra just show up out of nowhere, and I'm like, well, shit, I want to get that, and then I'll grab my leash, grab my dog, and go out the door and start looking for it. And then the other cool thing about that game too is that because you're on teams, and the game is also revolved around like taking over different locations called gyms and claiming them for your team. If you try taking over a gym, you'll start running into other people that are playing the game that are on your team. And like, I've already met at least 8 or 9 people in my development that are all on Team Mystic or the blue team, which one I'm on. And we just bullshit. It's actually kind of cool. We'll just sit there and they'll pet my dog, and we'll just sit there and like almost like turtle defense this gym. And so there is a pretty cool, like, real world, like, just kind of like camaraderie. It's not like, playing like WoW or something like that where you're typing through, chat logs and stuff like that. You're actually meeting these people, and they're all pretty cool.
Yeah, they've done a great job with this game. You got to tip your hat to them for that. They've probably made a shit ton of money already too, so I don't think it's going to end anytime soon.
I couldn't even imagine how much money they've already made. I mean, they've already said that I think Nintendo's stock has gone up 50% since, since this game's come out.
Good for them.
I mean, yeah, Nintendo probably needs it pretty badly.
That's an ahead of the curve like move right there that just like pays off. Like, tip your hat to them.
Right, and you almost think to yourself like, this was the game I think that for Pokemon fans they've been kind of waiting to get, because as cool as it is to have the same iteration of a game, just with new Pokemon every other year or something, like whatever it is, it's nice to get something different. And we've always complained about we wanted a console Pokemon game, but they've always said that doesn't make sense because Pokemon in its true essence is a handheld game that's like the whole point of it. They're pocket monsters. It means the game is in your pocket and you can take it out and play it. So to create a full version game, I'm not saying that there haven't been some like Pokemon Stadium type games where like, you just battle. But there's no storyline really, created to it. And it's not the same feel. So it's genius because once again, these games had already existed, in a lesser form that I have played and I enjoyed. But the staying power of Pokemon Go is that it's Pokemon. It tugs at our nostalgia and our childhood. And, we all kind of grew up, like, to me, I grew up with, like, 3 things that I wanted to be. Like, I wanted to hit 80 home runs in Major League Baseball. I wanted to learn how to fire a Kamehameha from Dragon Ball Z. And I wanted to be a Pokemon master.
Well, now you are a Pokemon master.
And now, I'm getting closer and closer. And ever so much closer. I think it's about all the time that we probably have for this topic. I think we've hit it enough. And you know what? I think we've been way too nice to Kiser. I think we shat on you more than
Oh yeah, definitely. I think you guys really missed me, and you had to keep bringing me up constantly.
No, I know, and I agree. You know what? It's all in good fun. We miss you. It's not the same unless it's all 3 of us.
The D's all right.
And but in all seriousness, Kiser, you're a pansy. You could have made it.
Yeah, Kiser, I'm very disappointed, dude.
But just get a couple scoops of ice cream. Have your girlfriend, like, I don't know, like, is there like a massage that someone can give to your throat or something?
Oh, dude, I'll massage your throat.
Ooh, we are getting towards the late part of this podcast. Damn, dude.
The D's all right.
But if you guys enjoyed this or didn't enjoy it, well, if you did enjoy it, screw you. But let us know what you think. Let us know what kind of games that you enjoy on the old mobile gaming spectrum. Let us know if you're enjoying Pokemon Go, what team you're on. You should be Team Mystic. If you're not, you're a piece of as long as you're not Team Valor. I mean, that's all I really care about. And join us next week, which once again we don't know if Kiser's going to be back. He might have another sore throat. Who knows? But we're going to be concluding our podcast or at least our month-long discussion on video games and just gaming in general. We'll talk more about that on the Twitters. You can find us on that at pseudonerdpod. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram. I mean, whoever's in charge of our Instagram account sucks. Well, hopefully we'll get more out of that.
Probably Kiser.
Yeah, it's probably Kiser. And, and also, pseudonerdpod.com. from, Jesus Christ, I do miss Kiser a little bit. From the home of Niantic Labs, which makes Pokemon Go, to the home of the guy who's sitting at home playing it right now and not here, I am Kyle Hoagland, and he's Josh Haddix, and we'll see you next time.
Have a good Friday.